So cheers and welcome to Tea with the Chamber. I'm Janine McKenna, President and CEO of the Emporia Area Chamber and Visit Emporia.
I'm Rebecca Herrera and I'm the Membership Director here at the Chamber of Commerce and Visit Emporia.
We are excited to have Captain Ray Mattas here today with us with the Emporia Police Department to talk about a very important subject matter. And this podcast topic came to mind quite a few months ago when Captain Mattas and I were talking, and he brought in flyers about active shooting training and for churches, schools, businesses. And immediately, we didn't have the podcast up and running at that time, but immediately I thought this is one I would like to have as a podcast, because I think it's a very important information for our business community to know about and to know what's available.
It is, I agree.
On that. So tell us a little bit about maybe the training you've gone through and what you can do for businesses, organizations, and that in the community.
When I was moving up through the ranks, when I was a patrol officer, sergeant, and that, I was an active shooter instructor for patrol. Okay. So I knew the police tactics side of things, but when I made captain, I found myself in the role of assisting the community more and not the patrol side more. But I knew there was more than we needed to do with active shooter, and I got lucky and found a course called Civilian Response to Active Shooter, where they created a program to teach us how to teach the other side of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
So myself, I've taken the instructor's course. Sergeant Bortherms has taken the instructor's course. I'm trying to get a couple patrol officers. I'm hoping that more people hear about it, the more they're willing to take it and learn. So far, we've been to a school, we've been to a local business, we've been to one of the apartment complexes. So I got a church that I'm going to be visiting soon, and then I have another business that we're going to be visiting soon.
So good. You have been getting out, and a lot of people have been reaching out to you, which is wonderful.
Yeah, just this helps me get the word out that more people have known about it. I only put it out one time on our PD Facebook page once and got a good response. I just haven't re-upped that recently. So it's a good time to do it.
That's wonderful. So tell us a little bit about having the proper mindset for active shooting.
When you're involved in a traumatic event, our brains kind of go to mush.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
We have that very primitive part of our body that says, this is what you need to do, right? But some people can react in such a negative way that they don't react at all. They just panic and they freeze. And so we need to be able to understand what our body instinctively wants us to do. We call it the lizard brain, right? That's that very primitive part of our body that says fight or flight. We've heard that kind of thing, right? Well, there's also a part of it's called freeze too. There's a fight, flight, or freeze, and some people freeze. And they get so overwhelmed by the situation, they just can't react. So we need to learn to understand, well, at least understand what's going to happen to our bodies. And if we can understand what happens to our bodies, we're better able to then go, okay, this is expected. How do I counteract it? And what techniques can I use to bring that down? And then how can I respond? Because when we go through these events, our first phase of this is just denial, right? Is that firecrackers? What am I hearing? Because it's so outside of our norm, we try to normalize it. So we go to this normalcy bias towards that. And then when we realize it's real, we panic and we don't know what to do. There was a huge, being a child of the 80s, big, great hair band person, Great White. Like a lot of bands that have lost their prime, they go back and try to re-up, right? They were playing a venue where they were playing in a bar, but they were still doing their big stage sets, right? And I don't know if you guys have heard about the Great White Fire.
Well, you know, I'm kind of an 80s kind of gal myself, so yes, I do.
So there was a big fire that went off when they set all their pyrotechnics off. Well, first people looked at that fire and went, oh, it's a fire. Is that part of the show? and they didn't react to it because that's normalcy
Right.
bias, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when they started to panic, they all started trying to go out one exit. And the vast majority of the people died right at this one exit when there were other exits available, because all they did was what they normally do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't process the information to look for other routes. I
Right.
came in this door, I'm leaving out this door. So that's part of what we're trying to talk about. When you come into a situation, what else can I do now? If you can calm yourself, you can start thinking rationally. Otherwise, the lizard brain takes over and you don't think rationally. So we want to be able to teach people how to recognize those things.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. I mean, I put myself in their shoes, and I'm like, you know, now it's one of those things that I'm like looking for exit doors. I'm like now trying to see. I always have to face a door, and I have to see like where's there an exit sign because of things like that. My sister, she works in the police department, and you know, she has said a couple things that just like, you know, she's like, you have to be aware of these certain things. So it's like, yeah, so when you're saying all these things, I'm like, yes, I know exactly what you mean, because I panic and I become a lizard. I'm like, oh, what do I do? You know, so.
So what should businesses, what can businesses do to learn more about this? Or what are some things maybe they can do on their own before they contact you and have you come in and speak to them?
Well, I'll tell you, the class we teach is 2 hours, and I know
Okay.
that's a long time for businesses to try to commit for us to come in. And so when we've talked about, there's times like we've met that we can't commit a full 2 hours to this, we can commit an hour. So we'll do an hour, and then we'll come back the next week and do another hour, or 2 weeks later. We can break it up to make it fit their schedule as we need, because I know that's a big commitment for a lot of people. So that's one. Two, start looking, like you were saying, right?
Yeah.
Recognizing that where you're at and what to do. My wife and I go through this. She kind of knows when we go out to eat. It's like, where are we sitting? I know I gotta sit with my back to the door because you're not going to.
Right.
Those same
Yeah.
sort of things, right?
Yeah.
She realizes those things. We've talked about when we go to church. You know, churches are bad for this, because it forces you to sit with your back to the door, right?
Right.
So you can see what's going on in front of you. So we've talked about where she's gonna go, where her exits are, how she's gonna get to her exits. And one of the big things for her, and I use this example all the time, is she sings part-time with the praise band, and she's never taken her phone with her. Like, what happens when you're up there and we get separated? How is there going to be any communication if you don't at least have your phone? So she turns her phone on silent, puts it in her back pocket now, and takes it up with her. I could care less about her purse,
Right.
or those kind of things, but she needs to have that ability to communicate if we get separated. So
Wow.
just little things like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that, but.
She's very conscientious about what I wear. So if there is an active involvement and I get involved from my side, because that's what I've been trained to do, that if she calls the police, this is what my husband's wearing.
Oh,
to
wonderful.
To identify me as a non-suspect,
Right.
so to speak. So I don't get accidentally injured by the officers coming to
Right.
respond, because they're gonna be stressed.
Exactly. Oh, that's wonderful
So,
information
little
that I
things like
wouldn't
that.
have
Wow.
thought of. And that. So if businesses are interested, how can they get a hold of you, or what's the best way to reach out to learn more about what you're offering?
Just the police department is the best way to get a hold of me. I'm there Monday through Friday, except some weekends when there's events.
Yes.
We need you there.
Yeah, I'll be at the events sometimes. But Monday through Friday, I'm there 8 to 5 most every day, except for when I'm doing wonderful things like this. Leave me a voicemail, ask for me. I'll probably have to leave me a voicemail. And then we'll set up a date and time for one of the instructors to come out, whether it be me, whether it be Sergeant Worthams, whether it be somebody else. But we'll set up a time to get out there and go over this. If after that they want us to come back through and do a walkthrough on their business, to say, what do you think we could do, or how could we better prepare? And a lot of things businesses forget. It's first aid kits.
Oh.
Okay, what if you have a traumatic event, and I'm gonna say a traumatic event can be a tornado.
Right.
Can't be, yes.
Are you able to care for any injured? Because if you have a major event, our ambulance service is gonna be overwhelmed remarkably. Can you do some trauma bandages? Do you have any tourniquets on site? Do you have any compression bandages? Do you have things like that you can care for your own? Because you might have to.
Yes.
So I would suggest investing in a good first aid kit that has some of those things. It's not your typical little white box you might put in your car, right?
Right.
It's a little more up depth. So the ones we got for our church have C-collars and all this other stuff. Like, I don't know how to use that, but we have nurses and doctors that know how to use that stuff, right?
Absolutely.
So let's get good quality kits and hope we don't have to worry about it. So
No, I think that is amazing, and I love the fact that you can go to the different businesses and tell them, like, hey, if something were to happen, this is a really good way to exit, and you know how to spread everything apart. That's
Right.
amazing, especially like when it's so time restricted and you have to act fast. That's something that's really good information to have, and we can, you know, employers can even put it in their manuals if they needed to.
That's right. So when we were getting ready to start, you gave a statistic that shocked me.
Yes.
I have to admit, and so I'd like to have you tell us that statistic, and then just any other general information you would like people to know about.
well, the statistics basically we were talking about, because we were
Yeah.
saying we were kind of a business oriented thing, and business
Right.
is like, well, this happens at the schools and
Mm-hmm.
really doesn't happen here,
About.
Yeah.
right? Is that 50% of the active killer events occur at businesses.
Wow.
That is
And that's
so
by
cool.
far the most. 30% occur at outside venues, large events,
Mm-hmm.
like from your parades or concerts or things like that.
Mhm.
That's where 30% of these things occur. 15% occur at schools, and then the other 15% are just
A variety.
the other.
Of different.
Yeah, whatever doesn't fit in
categories.
those
Right.
categories.
Wow. I mean, those are very sobering facts. And
They are.
once again, I think shows the importance for us as citizens, as business owners, parts of, participants in organizations like you were talking with church, and that to be more aware, to be more conscientious, to train our brains to think differently.
Think differently.
Absolutely.
In doing that.
And you're talking about, businesses, I think, get hit so often because so much of it is the attacker's known almost 50% of the time. A little less than that, but pretty close. And so they're disgruntled employees, they're about to get fired or just got fired or gotten an argument with the boss or something like that. That's what you see. And I think that's what you saw with the Nashville bank, is he was an employee that was about to be fired or was told he was gonna be fired. So what does he do? Instead of saying, okay, where did I mess up? He takes it out
Right.
on others, right?
That's,
So we've got that's kind of where it is, unfortunately. I think the people that are attacking the schools, if it's not a student, they're just trying to make a statement for whatever that statement's being. So this training, some people have heard of run, hide, fight. That's a big one.
Mhm.
This takes it, kind of changes the vernacular a little bit and changes the meaning behind it, and it's avoid, deny, defend. So we want to avoid it, like running away if we can, right? Or being prepared. A big part of avoiding is recognizing that people broadcast this. They do pre-attack indicators. So how can we avoid the event before it ever happens?
Right.
So that's a big thing. So we get rid of run and we say avoid. We say deny by denying entries. We were talking about door locks and different things we can do. If we can't get away, how do we shelter in place and secure it so they can't get to us? So what can we do there? And then when we say defend, so we don't want to, so denying, hiding, they if you look at Virginia Tech, there were students that tried to hide and got shot because they hid.
wow.
If we can deny it, that's great. If we can defend it because we can't deny it, then that's we got to do. But hiding is not a proper way of doing it. We've shown that hiding fails. And so we don't want to teach that. So we just go the avoid, deny, defend. So we're kind of changing it. So it's a new way of teaching it. And just like anything, we learn, we adapt, we change, and we continue to move forward. So that's kind of where this training has gone. And it's far more in depth than that, like 15-minute run, hide, fight video that's on the internet that anybody can watch. So it's a fully immersed training to help people better prepare themselves for hopefully an event that never occurs, right?
Right.
I mean, that's why we buy the first aid kits. That's why we
Right.
have, during tornado season in Kansas, we have 3 days of food and water, or we should, right?
Right.
Hope we never use it, but we have it
Mhm.
just in case, right? You prepare for things and hope they never happen.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for your time today. Rebecca, before we go, do you have a sweet tip for the day?
I do have a sweet tip. Are you ready?
Hello, and welcome to today's sweet tip of the day. Did you know that the Chamber of Commerce has different benefits for the members? Right? Of course, we did. We have so many benefits for our members. We have referrals, legislation action, publicity and exposure, economic development, small business development, along with many others, right? But today I am going to talk to you about one of the things that you get being a part of the chamber, and it's going to be publicity and exposure. So you are entitled to use our storefront window to display anything that you would like. So if you have a special event, or if you have something that you have super cool going on in your store and you would like for us to feature it in our window, we'd be more than happy to. We have a schedule that we have. So if you would like to see if there's an open slot in the month or the week, we'd be more than happy to get you on there. All you have to do is email me, Rebecca, at emporiakschamber.org, or call our office 620-342-1600, and we'd be more than happy to get you on the schedule and let you use our storefront window to display whatever you'd like. Thank you so much, and I hope you learned something new today at Rebecca's Sweet Tip of the Day.
Thank you so much, Captain, for being here with us and telling us all of this wonderful information. It has been amazing to hear all of this. I mean, my mind is just like, just so much good information, vital information.
It's vital, sobering
Absolutely.
Information that I hope our business community takes heed and reaches out to you. Once again, they can reach out to you at the Emporia Police Department, give you a call Monday through Friday,
Right.
and can get more information about how you can bring in this training to your business.
Absolutely.
I would more than welcome it, and the more people we can get trained, the safer our community will be.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.